one of the reasons why we should definitely be more worried about our border is because, of course, that story that everyone's talking about right now, well, everyone, of course, except for Biden, about that case of that girl, Laken Riley, over in, it was Athens, Georgia, I believe, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's the home of University of Georgia.
Yeah, so she was out for like a jog and was attacked by an illegal immigrant, brutally murdered, and this is from the post millennial, like so badly beaten, her skull was disfigured. Like that's how badly she was beaten by this illegal immigrant. And obviously, people on the right, of course, have been talking about it. Biden has said absolutely nothing on this. I think they pulled up and said he made over 26 statements about George Floyd, but obviously nothing about Laken Riley, right? He went personally to go meet with Jacob Blake's family. Don't forget that. Jacob Blake, the guy who was sexually assaulting a woman and trying to kidnap her children, who right afterwards grabbed a knife and tried stabbing an officer before he was shot. They went to go talk to his family and talk about how great he was and talk about how unjust, how it was completely, unjust for them to shoot at him while he, of course, was trying to stab them, which ended up causing actually the Kenosha riots, which is where, of course, the what was his name? The kid who shot those three
Rittenhouse.
attackers.
Rittenhouse.
Rittenhouse. Yeah, Rittenhouse. Where that all happened. So, he'll go to Jacob Blake, this guy who's a complete criminal through and through, terrible human being. And Kamala Harris even went to his bedside and saying, "We're so proud of you." Yet, of course, when an American citizen is killed by an illegal immigrant, not a word, right? And it has been so weird seeing just kind of how quiet, we talk about the divide that's been taking place, in politics. And it's just amazing how loud one side is about this and then just how quiet the other side is. It's just absolutely amazing to see.
Well, the problem is one thing that we talk about a lot, but it's not just that the other side is quiet, but the other side controls still all of the mainstream outlets that are going to cover or not cover stories as they see fit. And so I know we're going to talk some about the fun that everybody's having with Gemini AI and how that's going. But it's just another case where the information that's being leaked in large ways to the public, it's just not getting out. And so the average person isn't seeing anything about this. The average person doesn't know about this because it's only right leaning outlets that'll even talk about it.
Well, I will say this. I think this one is getting out a bit more than some of the previous ones had because this
No,
isn't
but look at the
new.
headline. Yeah, look at the headlines and look at how they're worded.
Oh, no, it was New York Post had a headline of saying the attacker was probably panicked while she fought back. It just, they're positioning it in weird ways. And in some cases, of course, they're avoiding using the term illegal immigrant. Instead, they're using the term, migrant instead. Just whatever they can to try to
Or how about
distance it
or
as much as
how
possible.
about the headlines? How about the headlines that call her out for going jogging alone? Like you're not like on a college campus or in a college town.
Well, a
Uh,
college, mind you, that college campus had not seen a murder in over 30 years. So jogging alone, I know we talk about the fact of you need to be responsible for your own safety in a lot of ways. I would definitely say depending on where you are, you might want to carry a gun on you or something. Obviously, a college campus makes that impossible to do, but you should probably have something to protect yourself with. But of all places, this is the place you should be able to run alone at. No murders in 30 years. And then what do you know? We have a bunch of people flooding across the border and bang, murder. It's not a complicated, line to go to here to figure out what the problem is.
the ones that angered me the most were the ones that wouldn't call out the fact that it was an illegal immigrant and called out the fact that almost blaming her. It was
Yeah,
like
the
victim shame.
victim blaming. Of course,
Yeah.
they accuse us of victim blaming for all sorts of things all the time. But, when it's one of someone who they like to protect who's the offender, well, then in which case, okay, well, they'll blame the victim, no problem. Which,
Well, the
again,
border, the
is
border, the border is
insane.
closed and secure. Our vice president and president and Homeland Security, they've all told us it's all good. The
Yeah,
border is
totally
closed.
fine. No problem whatsoever. Don't believe your lying eyes, right?
1984,
But
baby.
what is been really interesting to see it because, again, I think this one is getting a bit more traction in some of the other cases because, again, this isn't unique. This has been happening for a long time, actually. There's been multiple cases of people being killed by illegal immigrants. Now, one of the problems is that the FBI and everything does not keep records on the amount of homicides for illegals versus regular immigrants, which is kind of how they end up twisting the data a lot of times when they do these whole things where they say, well, people shouldn't be too concerned. Illegals commit less crimes than natural born citizens. And that's a total lie. What it is they include regular immigrants to this country in that list, which obviously, if you're going through the legal process to enter someone else's country, you're probably less likely to commit crime in that country. But for one, illegals have committed a crime, period, just by being here. The fact they are there, they are already committing crimes. So you can't say they commit less crimes than natural born citizens. Every single one of them is a criminal, period. Two, I think it was 2018, counting both illegals and legal immigrants, it was around 2,000 deaths, right? Around 2,000 deaths for total for legal and illegal immigrants combined. That is still...
And you're only counting violence. You're not counting what happens from fentanyl and other things that are going on. So that number is a drop in the bucket.
Not only that, but they also don't count manslaughter cases in this either. So we also, there has been some studies to show that a lot of times illegal immigrants have a much higher rate of drunk driving accidents than natural born citizens as well. Mostly because, as you know, over in Mexico, they don't really have a rule about drinking and driving, apparently. But, as you've seen other people there do. But it's just not really, different places have different rules. And so they come over to this country and they've already ignored one law by entering the country. Of course, they're going to ignore other laws. So those stats don't even count the manslaughter cases that have happened, as well as just simple, accidents in general that they're committing just being in the country, period.
Well, how about this? How about all the instances that we're seeing now of the FBI and the law enforcement agencies labeling as non-Hispanic white?
So that was actually somewhat interesting. And give me one sec, because actually I might have pulled something up with that. Because that's been happening more and more often now recently, which is crazy to see. But here's one thing I don't know. I'm seeing a lot of posts about, not just Hispanics, but even just Black Americans being labeled as white in the system as well. And I tried to actually go and confirm some of that because I had some of that I was thinking about pulling up later. But when I went and tried to confirm it, it wasn't showing it actually being true. I went and looked up the names like in the Tennessee and Texas records and stuff like that, and they were showing as Black or Hispanic just fine. So in some cases, it's 100% true. Like there was, out of the 10 names I checked, 2 of them were labeled as white, and one of those people were Black, and one of those people were Hispanic. But the other 8 were all labeled correctly. So I think there might be some posts going out and around that aren't entirely true on that. So I didn't have it ready to pull up here because of that, but I did check that out, and I think it's a little hit or miss with some of those. But the fact it's happening at all is still kind of crazy, which of course happened at first with, was it Zimmerman, right?
Well, and in a whole nother setting, it happened with COVID and how those were being labeled as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. So it does seem like they are trying to, I think, push some of those records. If they can have a way of saying it was a white person over a Hispanic person, they're going to label it white, not Hispanic, even if the person is fairly Hispanic, right?